Hi, everybody. How are you all tonight? Hi, my name is Lisa Soland. I have to look on my clipboard to get my name. Welcome to Meet the Authors, sponsored by Climbing Angel Publishing. My name is Lisa Soland, and I've had the privilege to work alongside these writers, these wonderful, gifted writers that we'll be introducing to you this evening. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. Climbing Angel Publishing started in 2015, and this is actually our second public Meet the Author event. So this is something that we're growing, and you're part of that growing. So thank you so much for being here. I wanted to, before we get on to some of the other things, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about Climbing Angel Publishing. And one way to do it is to read to you the mission statement of the company. Climbing Angel Publishing exists for the purpose of sharing stories of hope, encouragement, aiding in the gathering together of community, which we did so well tonight, and supporting the process of betterment, in other words, sanctification. The following books, well, we'll talk about the following books throughout the night, but tonight we have 7 authors who are going to be sharing with you their stories, and I'm sure most of you here know 1 or 2 of those authors. The first one, of course, is going to be Gail there, but we'll get to her in a minute. I want to begin by thanking my technical director, who's also helping and working as the technical director to a touring show called Sergeant York. Stephen Holt, could you give a wave? I know they have to wait to talk with you till after the... I am so grateful for that man. And also, I'm very grateful for my husband, who's working PowerPoint tonight, Derek Stillwell. And I would like to thank, they're not here, so Darla of West Park Baptist Church, who's allowing us to be in this space tonight, and also Pastor Sam Polson, my personal pastor. He's the lead pastor here at West Park. So thank you, Pastor Sam. I also have 2 people I just want to point out specifically. They're 2 very old friends of mine who happened to fly in for tonight's event. And we'll get to them later in Act 2, because we will take about a 5-minute break in between some of the readings. I just want you guys to be completely comfortable for tonight. So Melanie Eubank and Carly Samier, I want to thank you, ladies. I'm just so very grateful that you came to participate in this Climbing Angel Publishing event. Thanks for being here. So all the people you're going to see tonight are pretty freshly published by the publishing company. There are people here tonight that you will not be hearing from. I just want to quickly introduce them because they came to support the writers who are in the hot seat tonight. And my friend Sue Dunlap, if you could stand up, Sue, and just introduce yourself to the newly developed community. We are currently at Climbing Angel working on a Christmas anthology. It's entitled The Climbing Angel Christmas Treasury, because I wanted a book just like this. It's going to be chock full of short stories and poetry, and leading up to Christmas, you're going to be able to read these hopeful, encouraging stories about Christ and his birth and everything you can imagine about the Christmas season. And Sue Dunlap was just accepted some of her poetry that's going to be in the book. It's going to have 20 short stories, and almost all the authors that you see tonight are also going to be included in that anthology, including my friend Robin Morton. Robin, if you could stand and just let people see your beautiful face. Now, we also have Daniel Leonard, who is here tonight. Daniel, if you could stand up. Daniel's is going to have a couple of short stories in the Christmas anthology as well, but Climbing Angel is also publishing a book of his, which is a collection of short stories, and that will be out in the first part of next year. So thank you, Daniel, for trusting Climbing Angel. I just want to say that I was giving some thought lately. I noticed in myself, I don't know if you're like me, maybe I'm really too self-analytical, but I noticed in myself, especially over the last year, that I was especially needing something. I wanted God to be really clear with me and tell me clearly what His will is for my life. And I thought, boy, if some writer could just come along and write a book. And when I read it, before I went to bed, it caused me to sleep so good. And I'd lay there in bed and read the hopeful words, and I would feel like that author was speaking just to me. And I'm thinking, when I reflect on that feeling that I have nearly almost every night, especially after a hard day of isolation from the international pandemic, you know, I think to myself, it'd be really great if some author out there could write a book and in it would tell me, and I would read those words and I would be so clear, this is what God's will is for me. You know, so I could face tomorrow with courage, and I would know exactly where I stood in the world, and I would know I was doing His will, and I could step out in courage. And I'm thinking maybe that's why I started the publishing company. So, you know, these authors could maybe, you know, write. Well, I got to tell you, they have written little pieces of this. But the best news is that somebody did write a book like that. And I read it, at least all of the New Testament, a few times. And I get held up in Leviticus. I don't know about you, but the Old Testament's a little harder. But listen, it's really simple. And I don't know if you're going to be able to take this away tonight, but it is really simple. And this is it. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. Jesus said it. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I can talk back to myself when I'm longing for that, and I can even look up in the scripture where that is and remind myself, that's it. You know, God doesn't tell you what to do in life. He tells you how to do it. And it's really clear. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. So remember that, and I'll try to do that too when I'm wanting something more than God's word, and we really don't need any more than that. So we will begin, and I want to introduce to you the first reader of this evening. I got an email from the Knoxville News Sentinel. They were looking for Gail Childress Green and her daughter, Tiffany Talent, who happened to illustrate her book. And I said, well, I know how to contact that woman, and I will put you in touch with her. And they did a beautiful layout in the Farragut Shopper. So if you want to pick up one of those, she's got a copy over there in the middle table. All the authors that you see tonight will have copies of their books. If you're inspired, we would really encourage you to purchase some of those books. They're located all over there. They will sign them personally. There's nothing better than a signed book from the author directly to the person you're gifting it to. So I hope that you will support our writers. It directly supports Climbing Angel Publishing. And on that, let me introduce Gail Childress Green. She's going to be reading for you her new and first children's book, or second, entitled, Because You Are Mine.
Because You Are Mine by Gail Childress Green, illustrated by Tiffany Talent. Got to find the right page. There we go. There could be lots of children in a room, but I could find you. I would know you by your nose. There could be lots and lots of children in a room, but I could find you. I would know you by your toes. There could be lots and lots and lots of children in a room, but I could find you. I would know you by your chin. There could be lots and lots and lots and lots of children in a room, but I could find you. I would know you by your grin. There could be lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of children in a room, but I could find you. I would know you by your giggle, and I would know you by your wiggle. I would know you in the light, and I would know you in the night, even with my eyes closed very, very tight. I would know you because you are mine. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. Psalm 139, 13 to 14. The end.
Wonderful, very sweet book. Thank you for entrusting us. Hold on one second, I had a quick question for you. Now, what's neat about her book is that her daughter Tiffany actually did the illustrations, and the book was inspired by her grandson. But you shared with me something that occurred to you after you'd finished writing the book. Would you share that with the crowd tonight? Sure. Just real quick.
Sure. I thought, like Lisa said, I was writing it for my grandson because after I met him, my husband and I met him for the first time, I thought I'd know him anywhere. I could find him anywhere. But after I wrote this down, the first draft, I was crying by the time I got to the end because I realized my Heavenly Father was saying to me, I know you because you're mine.
Last night, Gail told me that if God had a refrigerator, that I would be a magnet on his refrigerator. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Thank you, Gail. Okay, so the next the next writer, an author that I'm going to introduce is wonderful man. But the thing that's interesting that I wanted to share with you tonight is that he's the first author other than myself that I published. So him and his wife, so generous with their time with me and my husband. We've been included in some of their after-church meals. And I remember saying to him when he was preaching a sermon series entitled In His Image, which wonderful, wonderful messages in that about how we're all created in his image. And I was so inspired, I just kept whispering in his ear, now, this is, in his image, what about that? And this could be a chapter, and that could be a chapter. Well, finally he thought maybe it'd be a good idea and went along. And now he has 5 books. And the first one was translated, it was actually published in Romanian before it was even published in English. He took the book to Romania and used it in his mission work with his wife Sue. And then, we translated it into Mandarin. And a friend of mine, his father is in the underground church in China. And he took copies of In His Image to China for his father to give out in the underground church. Then the second book, By Faith, the third book, Sunlight, the fourth book, Corona Victus, and the fifth book, Life-Changing Prayer. So please give a warm welcome to Pastor Sam, who'll be reading from the book Sunlight.
evening. I'm excited to read from this book, Sunlight, that I actually wrote. Not that I have a ghostwriter, but I preached the other books, okay? But this one was written, and it was written as a devotional for our church family in order just to encourage everyone to read God's Word. So the idea came to me to get people read through the New Testament. And I found out that there are 260 chapters in the New Testament. So 5 days a week times 52 weeks, that would be 260. And so that would be a way for us to read the New Testament together. But then I thought about, well, weekends can be bad. So we better do something for weekends. And so in counting up and dividing the chapters in Proverbs and Psalms, I found out that with Saturday being for Proverbs and Sunday being for Psalms, that in years' time that as a church we could read together through the entire New Testament and also the book of wisdom in the Bible, Proverbs, and the great book of worship in the Bible, Psalms. And so it was a blessing to finish the book. Along about June, I was wondering what in the world but I'm very grateful and thankful for Lisa's encouragement. I call her Coach. All right. Okay. So from Sunlight, the devotional, I'd like to read from the passage, Psalm 119. Some of you are a little afraid because that's the longest chapter in the Bible. Okay. But Psalm 119 was our passage for October 19th. And the verse that caught my attention is very brief but very powerful. Psalm 119, verse 105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And so I wrote this devotional for October 19th, Light for the Darkness. I do not like being in the dark. Now let me be specific. It's not being afraid of the dark, but more a real dislike of being in the dark. There's something deeply unsettling about not knowing where you are or where you're going. Many years ago, as a youth minister in Ohio, following one of our evening outreach events, I had to take several teenagers home. The last young man lived many miles out of town on a farm. I got the students safely home, then started making my way back to the city by way of narrow country roads. It was early fall, before the corn had been harvested. So I was literally driving through tunnels of corn, standing thick and higher than my head for acres and acres. That is when it happened. The lights on my car began to dim. The dashboard sensors began to flutter. The engine began to lurch, then stopped altogether. The alternator had gone out. This could not have happened at a worse time because it was a cloudy night without a moon and it was dark. And this was before cell phones. So there was nothing I could do but start walking or really shuffling because that was the only way that I could stay on the road. I literally could not see. I shuffled and stumbled along in the dark for what seemed to be a very long time until I finally arrived at a crossroad of two country lanes. And that is when I saw it. Far off in the distance, a farmhouse had a light shining on the porch that gave me a sense of direction. I shuffled toward that light and the closer I came, the more the light shined on the gravel road in front of me. I finally made it to the front porch and discovered the home was occupied by a very nice couple with a very mean dog. But that's another story. Since that night, I have never read or heard quoted Psalm 119, 105 without a deeper appreciation of the value of a light to my path in a time of darkness. That is what God's word is for us, light in the darkness. The Bible does not fully illuminate every moment of our lives with a floodlight of complete understanding, but God does keep us headed in the right direction and gives light to take the next step in the dark seasons. The key is not just having God's word with you, but having it in you. The darkest place the Bible illuminates is our own minds. We don't usually stumble because of the darkness of the world, but because of the darkness of our own mental pathways. God's word brightens our lives from the inside out. There's no denying that the darkness is in us and it's around us. It is real. But God's word is also real and brighter than any darkness.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks. That is great. And he'll be sharing those books over there afterwards as well. And if any of you are interested in any of his other books, the church here, West Park, has them in the lobby. They have a bookshelf, and now you're kind of filling up the bookshelf. That's always fun, to fill up a bookshelf. That is really comforting. Thank you so much. The next author I have to introduce for you tonight, who will be sharing another picture book. Wonderful to work with her on this book. Jeremy Plays the Blues, and the author is Amy Oden Simpson. Could you come on up, Amy? And I thought it would be great if before you begin, you could just maybe tell them the inspiration for the book. The context in this example might be helpful.
Sure. I'm a mom to two children, ages 10 and 20. And both of my children experienced the challenge of autism. And so they were both, Corley and Sydney were my inspiration for this book.
Thank you.
My name is Jeremy. Jeremy Plays the Blues by Amy Oden Simpson. Illustrated by Janice Jones Sanders. My name is Jeremy. My mother says that I'm a special boy. I love to paint. My mother says that I paint very well. There are times when I feel sad and have no words. So making friends can be very hard. Other children try to play with me, but they don't understand why I'm silent. I wish it were enough to simply play together without words. Every morning, I paint with my teacher, Miss Lauren. When I paint, I feel like I am using words. One day, while I was painting, Miss Lauren began to play her guitar. She played what she called the blues. She played songs by people named Muddy Waters, Ma Rainey, and Memphis Minnie. When I heard the music, I grew very excited. My body started to move, and I danced. My paintings danced too. Then Miss Lauren began to sing, and I began to hum. Humming was easy for me. My humming blended with the sound of the guitar. My paintings sang along too. I painted the sounds I was hearing. I painted faster and faster. I looked at my paintings and felt joy. Others felt joy too. The next day, when I went to school, Miss Lauren gave me a present, my very own guitar. I held it. I turned it around and I shook it. And then I put my ear to the hole and listened to it like a shell from the ocean. I thought to myself, I will paint it. And I did. I painted my guitar blue. I have found my way to play the blues. My mother was right. I am a special boy. The end.
That was great. Thank you. Thanks, Amy. The next person that's going to be sharing her story tonight, I started working, coming alongside of you, helping you when you were 15 in this story, and it took her 2 years to work on it. And she's now a whopping 17 years old with her first published children's book. So please give a warm welcome to Jasmine Simpkins and her book, Bad Hair Day.
Wait, oh, there we go. There we go. Bad Hair Day by Jasmine Simpkins and illustrated by Cooper Delamain. This book is dedicated to my cousin Aria and all the rest of us who have been beautifully made in God's image. Chapter 1. Laura and Aria were the best of friends. They shared everything with each other. Secrets, TV shows, toys, clothes, fairy tales, math, their favorite subject, and even the last piece of candy in their lunch. Incredibly, they also shared the same birthday. So they decided to share their parties too. With all their friends could come to one party and celebrate both girls. But this year was a very special birthday. Laura and Aria were both turning double digits, 10 years old. For this special occasion, Laura decided to braid her pin straight hair the night before, so it would be wavy and bouncy for the party. I'll finally have the same gorgeous curly hair as Aria, she thought as she wove one strand over the other. Little did she know, Aria had asked her mother to straighten out her curls the night before in hopes that her hair would be long and silky as Laura's. Chapter 2. The following day was a humid one. As Aria was waiting for the bus stop, her freshly straightened locks frizzed 3 times their normal size. Her hair became a giant afro. Laura's bouncy waves only lasted an hour into the school day before the curls naturally straightened themselves out. The girls carried their disappointment around at school. This was not a good way to start their special day. All Aria could think about was her stupid hair, even on her own birthday, a day where she's supposed to be bubbling with joy. She dreaded having to detangle her fro later. Arya was so concerned about her hair that she slipped out of math class, which was her favorite class, just to check out her hair in the girls' bathroom mirror. When she saw her reflection, she asked herself, why can't my hair be silky, shiny, and easy to brush like Laura's hair? Meanwhile, Laura was sticking pencils in her hair all day long, twirling them around each strand, trying to revive her dead curls, but failing miserably. She felt that her hair looked like it was dangling from her head lifelessly. In English class, they began reading a famous story called A Wisher's Tale, but with different students reading each paragraph. And Laura's hair took all her concentration. Laura Lee, her teacher said, put your pencils away and read paragraph 4 for us, please. Snapping back into reality, Laura gloomily read the paragraph assigned to her. The unhappy handmaid's tale of discovery of the all-powerful genie and his offer of 3 wishes was so sudden, yet she knew what her first wish would be because she had this in her heart for a very long time. Laura continued reading. The handmaid had labored too many years, doing back-breaking chores for her ungrateful master. She wished to become the master of the house herself, so she would be in the lap of luxury and finish playing the role of a lowly handmaid forever. The genie did as she wished, and she finally got the life she had dreamed of for years. The teacher interrupted. All right, class, that is all we're reading today. It's time for recess. Chapter 3. Instead of playing their favorite game of tag, Arya and Laura walked around the playground with shoulders slumped, dragging their lifeless feet. You don't feel like playing either? Asked Arya. I didn't have the best morning today, Laura replied. Me neither. My mom straightened my hair last night. I was really excited to have it look perfect today, like yours, but as soon as I stepped outside, my hair turned into a giant fuzzy cloud. Laura burst into a fit of giggles. Confused at first, Arya joined in on the laughter anyway, realizing how silly it was. I had the opposite problem, said Laura. It took me forever last night to braid mine so I could have curly hair like yours today. But then those curls fell out before school even started, and as a last resort, I tried to roll my hair up with my pencil. The girls laughed their heads off at the sheer irony of them having the opposite problems. They cackled because of how silly it sounded. Instead of dwelling on the negative, they chuckled, which made their problems seem less troubling. In the middle of their giggle fest, Arya managed to squeeze out a sentence that changed everything. If only we could switch hair. Laura quit laughing and gasped instead. We should. Wait, you're not serious, Laura, are you? Asked the shocked Arya. Yes, very serious, she said. Just as Laura began to share her plan, recess was over, and the teachers called everyone in for classes to start again. I'll tell you before the party starts, Laura quickly whispered. Chapter 4. When the school day was over, the girls went to Laura's house to get ready for the party and finally discuss the plan. All right, Laura started. Remember how in class we read A Wisher's Tale? Yes, Arya answered in confusion. Well, the lady in the story wished to become something else, and it worked. I think that in order to switch hair, we should... Wait a minute, interrupted Arya. You're not going to say that we should find a genie or something, right? No, of course not. I'm saying that we should use our birthday wishes, and when we blow out the candles, we can wish for each other's hair. At this moment, Arya believed Laura to be a little out of her mind, but she was her best friend, so she went along with the plan. That's a great idea, Laura, but when you blow out the candles, you're not supposed to tell your wish to anyone or else it won't come true. You're right. I thought about that too, Laura explained. We share everything, Arya, including our birthdays. I believe that the laws of wishing won't ruin this for us. Chapter 5. The plan was set into motion. All of Laura and Arya's friends came over, and it was wonderful. They played musical chairs, ate pizza with mushrooms, and the two girls got some awesome presents. There was even a piñata shaped like a calculator. The excitement of the whole party almost made the girls forget about their master plan until their cake arrived. It was a chocolate cake, and on the top were 2 candles in the shape of a 1 and a 0. Happy birthday was sung, and the girls couldn't stop smiling because they knew what was going to happen next. It was time to blow out their candles. In her heart, Laura wished for Arya's beautiful, curly, and bouncy hair, while Arya wished for Laura's long, straight hair that would flow in the wind. Deep down in their hearts, they hoped the plan would really work. They blew out the candles, wishing as hard as they could, and no one knew about their special hope but each other. But much to their dismay, nothing happened. After the ceremony was finished, their hair was still the same. Laura and Arya looked at each other with disappointment in their eyes. Chapter 6. Because this was a very special birthday, their parents let them have a sleepover even though it was a school night. As exciting as that was, Arya and Laura were still trying to figure out what went wrong with the plan. Maybe wishes aren't supposed to happen instantly, right? Laura asked her friend. I think we might have broken the rules when we told each other what we wished for, Arya replied. But we share everything with each other. It should have worked. Laura let out a sigh of defeat. Hopefully a wish is all it takes, Arya said. Imagine if we had to do something crazy like really summon up a genie. Or find pixie dust, Laura added. Yeah, we could braid our hair together and sprinkle pixie dust all over it, Arya added to the joke. Laura's face lit up. That's not a bad idea. There's nowhere to get pixie dust. I was kidding. Again, said Arya. But we can braid our hair together. Let's do it. To make sure that it'll work, please, please, begged Arya. And begged Laura. Arya agreed half-heartedly, although it was technically her idea. She was hopeful at the slightest chance that she could really receive straight hair. She was determined enough to go through being tied together all night long. Arya and Laura quickly pushed their beds up against the other, carefully weaved their hair together, and fell asleep. It wasn't the most comfortable way to sleep, but they were dead set on switching hair, and anything they could do to make that happen, they were up to doing. Chapter 7. The following morning, Arya woke up first. She forgot for a minute that her hair was entangled with Laura's. When she sat up, the pull on her hair was so strong that it startled Laura. Arya felt her hair, but noticed that something was different. It felt smoother. Suddenly, the memories of the night before flooded her mind. She ran to the bathroom mirror, dragging Laura behind her, who was still half asleep. Arya's eyes opened wide. She was astonished by what she saw in the mirror. Her hair was straight, and it was longer. And it was a different kind of straight from when she straightened it before. The hair was softer and genuine. A big grin spread across her face while she was brushing her fingers through the locks. There was no frizz. Laura stood beside her in the bathroom, but she was still asleep, and believe it or not, she was snoring. Arya nudged her, and when that didn't work, she bopped her on the head until she parted her eyes. When she caught sight of the two of them in the mirror, her eyes practically popped out of her head. No way, she exclaimed. It was her turn to be shocked. Laura's hair was big, and she had the beautiful, coily curls she always wanted. They quickly unbraided their hair and jumped up and down, giggling with excitement. Their wish had come true. They finally got what they desired. Chapter 8. Laura yelled to her mom, who was busy in the kitchen. They were going to skip breakfast and ride their bikes to school. Arya borrowed Laura's brother's bike. As they rode, Arya's hair flowed with the wind, just as she always wanted it to. When they got to school, all of their friends were blown away. The confidence in the two girls was as evident as the sun's rays. Laura was so sure of herself that she raised her hand and offered to read a whole page of A Wisher's Tale in front of the entire class. Her surprised teacher offered her 2 paragraphs instead. Laura and Arya were on top of the world until recess. To play tag on the playground, Arya had to put her hair in a single braid to keep it out of her face. It was the month of May, so it was hot outside and windy. After playing for a while, Laura was sweaty and frustrated. She walked up to Arya and asked her for a hair tie. The heat of the day had turned Laura's hair into a hot iron sitting on her head. But when she tried to pull it back, it was so big that she broke all of her own hair ties. "Welcome to my world," Arya replied. "I don't have any more hair ties either. It took both of mine just to keep this braid in." Arya's braid lasted only 5 minutes while playing the game. All of that running around with the wind blowing against her newly fine hair caused her braid to become a simple ponytail. She was annoyed at how easily it came undone. "Ha! Welcome to my world," Laura laughed. Before recess ended, the girls decided to run to the bathroom and fix their hair. Laura pulled out a brush from her backpack and brushed out the curls to make them neater. Instead, she made her hair bigger and frizzier. Then, suddenly, the brush broke in two right in her hand. Chapter 9. "You're not supposed to brush your hair when it's dry, Laura. It has to be wet. It brushes easier that way. And you'll have to use a lot of moisturizer to style your hair from now on," explained Arya. "Oh, wow. I had no idea," said Laura. "You'll get used to it. It's not so bad." "Then how come you wanted my straight hair so badly?" "I don't know," answered Arya. "Your hair is long and smooth. It's easy to take care of. It's hard for mine to grow out, and it takes too long to fix." "Well, you're gonna have to wash your new hair every other day, or else it'll get super greasy," explained Laura. "That's wild. You only have to wash your new hair once a week. Washing it too much will make it dry," said Arya. "How come it's hard for my hair to stay in a braid? How come it's hard for my straight hair to stay in a braid?" "My old hair hardly had any volume. It was flat and thin. It wouldn't stay in any style for long. That's why I wanted your hair. You had beautiful, voluminous curls, and I loved how tough it was," Laura replied. This is something that both girls never considered. They were learning that not one hair texture was perfect. "So I guess neither hair type is better than the other," Laura said. "They both have their challenges," Arya added. "I think we should have accepted our hair the way it was." The realization of how good they had it was sinking in. "I wish I had the chance to love my hair the way it was. Do you think we could switch back?" Laura asked sadly. With determination in her eyes, Arya said, "There's only one way to find out." As soon as school ended, Laura and Arya stuffed their hair up into baseball caps, went home, and begged their parents to let them have a sleepover again. But it was a school night, and their birthday was the only exception. All 4 adults said no. The girls were devastated. They were never going to get the chance to really appreciate and love their own natural hair. Chapter 10. After dinner, Arya sat on her bed, thinking about how much she missed her beautiful, kinky hair. She walked into her bathroom and looked at herself in the mirror. Tears spilled out of her eyes and a lump grew in her throat. As she looked closer, she realized something. She had the same eyes, the same nose, the same smile, and she still had the same beautiful personality. Arya was still the same beautiful person, straight hair or not. She finally saw that her hair never defined her in the first place. And if she had to have straight hair until her next birthday, or even for the rest of her life, she would accept that. For the first time in her 10-year-old life, She was accepting her real self deep down in her heart, not her hair. Laura saw her old straight hair in a new light too. As she sat on her bed in her home, her heart was heavy because she never had the chance to accept the good with the imperfections either, or to appreciate her hair's unique beauty. She saw that she continued to be beautiful and that her new big hair matched her big personality perfectly. If she had to adapt to the changes of her hair, so be it. She was okay with it. It was okay with Laura as well. And she felt that it was better to let go instead of needlessly dwelling on it. A heavy weight had been lifted off of both girls' shoulders. They finally accepted themselves as they were. And that night, they slept peacefully. Being comfortable on the inside made for a great sleep indeed. Chapter 11. In the morning, Arya woke up to a big wad of hair in her mouth. She brushed it back, and when she did, she felt thicker strands than when she fell asleep. She walked into the bathroom and stared into the mirror, wonderstruck. Her big, poofy hair was looking right back at her. She smiled a big, wide smile, then casually went about her day, not giving a care whether her hair was too big or too frizzy. Whatever it was hers. While Laura dreamed, she imagined fixing her hair. But in the morning, when it came time to get ready, she saw that it was flat again. And she had never been happier to see flat hair in all her life because it didn't bother her anymore, either way. She brushed through it and appreciated her natural hair with every stroke. She could now focus on friends and schoolwork rather than being obsessed all the time with how she looked. Accepting themselves as God made them was the secret, and what awesome lives they lived from then on. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. Psalm 139, 13-14. The end.
Thank you. Thanks for reading that. It's a wonderful story. I just wanted to let Jasmine know that I was contacted by UPS, and her books will be arriving on Monday. So she will be selling pre-sale copies at the end of the evening, and you're excited about that, right? Yes. So the soft covers will be here Monday, and the hard covers will be here in a couple of more weeks. Those take a little bit longer. But I was watching you communicate with somebody in the audience. Is Mr. Cooper in the house tonight? Yep. Cooper, could you come up here? We actually do have one illustrator in the house. Here, let me stand between you here. So tell me something. Nice to meet you, by the way. So what was that like working with Jasmine as the author of the book?
I had a lot of fun doing it because we've known each other before because we do theater together. So I'm like comfortable with her, and it was easy to go back and forth with like, she would tell me what she wanted in the drawings, I would do it, and I would send her the sketch, and she would give me the okay to finish it. And I was always so excited to like show her the finished product because I was like so proud of it.
Was it fun to see her reaction from the hard work that you had done?
Yeah, she was always so excited in her text messages.
Did you learn anything about storytelling through art?
Definitely. I feel like this whole process, it was like really, it changed my perception of like how I see illustrated books. Like I always loved them when I was little, but now I like understand what went behind them.
Cooper, I just want to personally thank you for contributing to this very wonderful book with such a strong message. And I have another question for you, Jasmine. Have you ever met a woman that was unhappy with her hair?
Yes, including myself.
How many women do you think you've met that have been unhappy with their hair?
Probably like all of them, or at least most of them that have hair.
I think we've had this discussion, right, ladies? And gentlemen, I don't mean to isolate you from us, but I mean, it does speak to all of us who are a little uncomfortable with something about ourselves, doesn't it? But to be reminded that we're all made in God's image, and we were formed in the womb by God. Makes it better. I just want to thank you for writing this really wonderful story. Did you learn anything during the process?
Yeah, in fact, the theme of the book wasn't like a theme that I thought of initially when I was writing it until I finished it. The theme being like accepting yourself, like you're still worthy regardless of how you feel you look in the mirror. And that was something that I really like learned reading back at it. I was like, oh, that's what that means. That's what my book means. So yeah, and it was like based off of like a lot of things, including my hair, but also like body image and like, you know, just beauty standards in general. It's not, you know, it is mostly geared towards women too. So I mean, it makes sense that a lot of women and even men can relate to that. So I'm just really glad that I can put it out there and do it with hair, but you can like use hair as a theme or just like anything that you're insecure about. So.
Well, you're a great spokesman for the subject that the grass is always greener.
Yeah, that too.
Well, thank you so much, and she would love to talk with you guys. We have 3 more writers, but we're going to take like a 3-minute break. So if you want to stand up and stretch and use the restroom, or you can even glance at the books that are displayed so nicely over there. We'll meet back in 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes, and then we just have 3 more authors. Thanks for joining us tonight, Cooper.
Thank you.
Beautiful voice.
Where's the camera? I'll just start over. Hello, Facebook Live. I am a trained theatrical actress. My film skills are rusty. Ella's Trip of a Lifetime by Melanie Eubank, illustrated by Sylvia Itzel Himi. Did you ever hear a story that made you scrunch up your face and say, "What? Nuh-uh, that's crazy"? Yeah, me too. Like when my friend Becca cut to the front of the line for show and tell and shouted all in one breath, "My brother got hit by a car, but he wasn't hurt except his shoestring broke off and laid in the street in a perfect bow." Then she showed it, that perfect bow. How did the bow stay tied? How did it break off, but her brother's legs stayed attached to his body? Are their shoestrings made of nylon? Cotton? Why am I so fascinated? Is this appropriate show and tell material? Did your mom ever give you advice that made you scrunch up your face and say, "What? Nuh-uh, that makes no sense"? Yeah, mine too. Like when I was learning to write my letters and I kept mixing up the B and D, my mom said, "Learning is simple, but not easy." Then she handed me a clean sheet of paper and a sharp pencil and said, "Imagine that B and D are in love, facing each other and kissing." Well, ew. On the one hand, I'm grateful that I'm not homeschooled. On the other, I never again confused B with D. Did you ever visit a place that was so big and so deep that seeing it made you scrunch up your face and say, "What?" But that's it, just, "What?" Then silence. No words came to your mind because words couldn't possibly describe what you were seeing. I have. Like when I went to the Grand Canyon, or like when I went to heaven. Now, before you scrunch up your face and say, "What? Nuh-uh, that's crazy," I have to be honest. I never made it to the Grand Canyon, but I did make it to heaven. I'm a kid who needs to stay active. I get bored easily. My mom says, "Ella, you have a family of squirrels in your brain that seems to be impossible to manage." I like to play team sports. I like to read. I like to play video games. I like to put together puzzles. I like to practice the violin. I like to do all of these things on the same day. Now imagine me in the car on a 2-day road trip with my parents, my baby brother, and the family of squirrels in my brain. Which one of us is more apt to make "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" into a song? Me. Which one will wake up her sleeping brother and make him scream, "Ah!" Or if he could talk, "Mama, Mama, she's poking me." Me. In fairness to me, my baby brother gives as good as he gets. He looks all innocent as he cries crocodile tears and calls out, "Mama," who of course rushes into the room just as I snatch the stuffed llama out of my brother's slobbery grip in retaliation for taking my crayons. I get time out to think about things as he gleefully pulls said crayons from his wet diaper and eats them. And somehow that's my fault too. My mom packs 2 chargers for my tablet. She puts one in the car and one in the emergency kit. "Mom, what about crayons?" I ask. "Do you have any left? Your brother is still pooping the rainbow," she says. I know she means no, but since she didn't actually say no, I wait until she's not looking and slip my box of neon crayons and a coloring book in with my tablet. The squirrels like to color. My dad is packing the car and sighs like his head has an air leak. He says it's important that things fit into the car tidily. Sometimes he pushes on things to make them fit tidily, like when my little brother helps me with a puzzle and crams the pieces into the wrong places. "Mom, why is Dad so grumpy?" I whisper as I crawl into my bed. "He's not grumpy, Ella. He's focused. Now go to sleep. We're leaving very early in the morning." I yawn, snuggle down into my cozy covers, and my mother shuts off the light. She whispers, "Sweet dreams." In what seems like 2 minutes later, the morning sun pours into my room and my mom yells, "Wake up, time to go, Ella. Put on your slippers. Asher and Dad are in the car and ready to go. You can go back to sleep once we've strapped you in." Miss Maxwell, my kindergarten teacher, told me evergreen trees aren't pink. But I don't care. All my trees are pink. I have a 64 box of crayons with a sharpener, and I am not afraid to use those crayons. After all, what is life without whimsy? It's after lunch and I'm finishing the green and yellow neon unicorn when my mom asks, "What's that smell?" "I don't know," I say, and then with the hope that the answer is no, but the dread that it is yes, I ask, "Want me to give Asher the sniff test?" "It's not him," Mom answers. "It smells like," she sniffs the air, "like melted wax." Uh-oh. I look in my crayon box. One is missing. I feel the seat under my butt. It's not there. I check the floor. Oh boy. Have you ever seen someone start a fire by reflecting the sun's rays through a magnifying glass? Me neither. But once my friend Kyle cut to the front of the line at Show and Tell with a crazy story and a burnt-up piece of paper. I have a feeling that the neon purple crayon on the floor under my feet that melted in the sun's hot rays shining through the window is about to burst into flames. I am in trouble. "Does melted crayon stain carpet?" I ask. Turns out, yes. A purple wax blob will leave a purple wax stain. My dad's air leak is back, and so is his focus. We arrive at the hotel. Mom checks us in while Dad cleans up the crayon. "Let's go up to the room so you can put on your swimsuit, Ella. As soon as your dad finishes with the car, he'll take you to the pool. Asher and I will join you in a bit." Up in the room, I quickly pull on my swimsuit and grab my aqua shoes. I know better than to make "Is he done yet? Is he done yet?" into a song. I sit and quietly wait. My dad gets into his swim trunks. If Miss Maxwell, my teacher, saw these swim trunks, she would wrinkle her nose up like she's smelling something stinky. Then she would say, "Ella, pineapples are not pink, purple, peach, or teal." As Dad and I get sunscreened up, I think, what is life without whimsy? It's late in the afternoon, but my mom says you can't be too careful about avoiding sunburn. We walk down the stairs to the pool. It's not too big and it's not too deep. It's sparkly and blue, and I can't wait to get into it. I go around the stairs and step in, then down 3 steps. The water is up to my chin. My dad tosses the towels on a patio chair and wades in. He picks me up and holds me under my belly so I'm facing down and ready to swim. He touches my feet to the side of the pool, then says, "Push, paddle, kick." I push off the wall, paddle my arms, and kick my feet. My dad holds me under my belly while I paddle and kick around the edge of the pool. When we get back to the stairs, Mom and Asher are there. "Ah!" Asher squeals. Or if he could talk, "My turn, my turn." Dad sits me on the steps. "Wait here. I'll take Asher for a quick lap, then I'll be back for you." He heads out with Asher, but I don't want to wait on the steps. I look at Mom. She has her back turned and is straightening the towel on the chair. A girl swims past me. She's doing the paddle kick, nothing else, nothing fancy. I think to myself, wouldn't it be fun to surprise Dad and swim right up to him? I lie on my belly on the second step and put my feet against the side of the pool. As I push off, I say to myself, swimming is simple. I paddle, I kick. I paddle and kick and paddle and kick, but my head is under the water. I kick my hardest, strong kicks, like the ones I use to score goals in soccer. Fast kicks, like dribbling the ball on my knees. I tip my head back to get my nose above the surface. I flail my arms, right, left, right, left, right, left, like climbing the rope in gym class. I'm good at that. I fight to lift my head up and out. I take a huge, deep breath of water. Swimming is simple, but not easy. I am in trouble. I choke and sputter. With each cough, I inhale more water. My lungs burn. My body takes over and gulps for breath. I sink further under the surface. The gulping becomes deep, painful hiccups. I fight to paddle and kick, but my arms no longer work. Then my body stops trying to breathe. I go completely limp. Everything in me gets very calm. I see the other kids paddling and kicking. I see peach and teal pineapples. I see the rays of the sun. The same rays that melted my purple crayon shine down through the water like the crown on the Statue of Liberty, only upside down. I see the deep blue sky and the white puffy clouds all glitter and sparkle from the ripples in the water. It is all so beautiful, more beautiful than I ever saw before. Did you ever want to stay awake, but you just couldn't keep your eyes open no matter how hard you tried? I have. Like on Christmas Eve, when the house smells like baking pies, and I'm lying in front of the Christmas tree, squinting my eyes so the twinkle lights look like shining stars. And I want to stay up all night so Christmas will never be over. Slowly the light fades, and I can't see anything anymore. But everything is still so beautiful. Time stops. I can no longer feel my body, but everything else feels so good. And this is when I run out of words. I no longer need them. But for you today, I will try. I'm in heaven. It is beyond the beauty described in Sunday school. It is vibrant. It sparkles and shimmers. There are more colors than I can count, unknown colors, like the 64 crayon box multiplied by 1,000,000. And it is love, pure love. Heaven is comfort. It's warm and safe and secure. I am not afraid. I do not feel pain. I do not feel sad. I do not miss my parents. I'm not angry with my brother. I want for nothing. There are no more squirrels wreaking havoc in my brain. I am truly happy. I am deeply content. I am cradled in God's perfect love. I am swathed in God's perfect peace. I have to be honest. I never want to leave heaven. But I become aware of a voice. It is all around me, and I hear it not with my ears, but in my heart. Go back, it gently whispers. Give love. Be love. I am rocketed forward. I feel my body again. There is pressure on my chest. Breathing is difficult. I become aware of another voice. I hear this one with my ears. come back, come back, it cries softly. My body hurts, my lungs burn, the pressure on my chest makes it hard to breathe. I hear commotion around me, sirens. What is this pressure on my chest? My eyes won't open, my arms won't move. I want to go back to the unknown colors. I don't know where I am, but I feel Dad next to me. I feel Mom stroke my head. Both are praying. It takes all of my strength, but I finally get my eyelids to crack open just barely. Just enough to see a teal pineapple. Oh, that's right, the pool. What is on my chest? My eyes close and open in a slow blink. I look toward the voice, blabbering gobbledygook. It's Asher. He lies next to me with one arm draped across my chest. My heart swells, and if I could move my arms, I'd throw them around him and give him a good long squeeze. Instead, I muster all of my strength and nudge him with my finger. He lifts his head to look at me, then screams in joyful, shocked disbelief. I'm back, I say with barely a whisper. Paramedics set down their gear. I close my eyes. In my heart, I repeat the message given to me in heaven. Give love, be love. Now go ahead and say it. What? Nuh-uh, that's crazy. That makes no sense. True, it doesn't. When you think about it, though, do any of the miracles we see every day make sense? I'm looking at you, fireflies. I mean, you can't see air, but it's there. And so is heaven. Believing is simple, but not easy. And so is trying to live out the lesson I learned that day. But the bar is set, and every moment I try to jump over it, just as I try to use ordinary words to describe heaven. Some things remain simple, but not easy. Still, I try, and so should you. Give love, be love. The end.
That's a wonderful story, Melanie. Come up here for a second. Since she flew all the way here to the volunteer state, we've gotten her a little t-shirt to take back to Arizona, just so Arizona knows who's boss. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Now, I understand that that's a true story. Yes. So how old were you when that actually happened in real life?
I was 3. I had a drowning experience where they had to revive me, and yeah.
And you remember heaven.
Absolutely. It's hard to forget.
And you're not afraid anymore, are you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I tell people, I don't. The process of getting there is, it can be difficult, but there is amazing. It's amazing. So.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's like all the colors times a million. Wow. Yeah.
It's a lovely story. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing it, and we hope to see you again maybe December. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. So our next author, our next author tonight is Dr. Dennis Davidson, and the book he's going to share from is called Without Ceasing, and it's based on a manuscript that he taught from and did Bible study with in missionary work in Peru. So thank you so much. This is a wonderful book, and thank you, Dennis, for being here to share it with us.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for this opportunity to come and share and participate in all these wonderful, creative stories. This is a book, of course, Without Ceasing, about prayer. And I just want to read a small portion of 30 chapters in the book, and I want to read some from chapter 4. Praying is something that I guess is a necessary part of a Christian's life. And since we're going to be doing it, hopefully all our life, it would be good to do it as good as we can. And hopefully we're always trying to grow and improve. And so this book's kind of written out of a desire of my own and then to help others with their prayer life. And so let me read from chapter 4, which is about getting alone with God. It starts out with a scripture verse, Matthew 6:6. But you, when you pray, go into your inner room, close your door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. It might help if I could see it a little better. This world is a complex, busy, demanding, and overall a distracting place. It is difficult to maintain God's presence in such an atmosphere, much less encounter it. To find God's presence and to hear His will, His still small voice, requires, especially at first, a pulling away. The soul and the spirit of every believer needs daily tuning by God before one gets caught up and tied into society's agenda, objective, and activities that can force one away from his walk with God. Elements of this section, How to Hear God, will assist you in this sacred privilege of seeking God's face and finding His favor. For all who will recognize their need and dependence, the Father sits on the throne of grace. Although the believer will often need to pray with others and with the church united, one should always seek God's face before they seek the face of anyone else. This is certainly the pattern of Jesus' life. Jesus sought solitude so He could be alone with the Father. He sought out secluded places so that He, sometimes alone with His disciples, could pray undisturbed. His chosen sanctuaries were the mountains, the desert, on or by a lake or in a garden. Even in crowds, in the solitude of His being, He prayed. We read in Luke 9:18. And it happened that while He was praying alone, and the disciples were with Him, and He questioned them, saying, "Who do the people say that I am?" Jesus instructed His disciples in the model prayer to go to the Father in secret. But you, when you pray, go into your inner room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Intimacy with God is developed in private communion. Closing off the outer world makes it easier to enter the inner sanctuary. The shutting out of the tumults of the world assists one in entering into the contrition of heart that recognizes God's presence. This leaving of the sensual, fleshly, and external opens the way to enter into the spiritual and eternal. By entering into the secret closet and shutting the door to the world, one finds the peaceful presence of the indwelling Christ. The sweetness of this inner sanctum affords us solace and strength to carry on the work of prayer. Time alone with God opens the way for His healing, teaching, and guiding to occur. As undivided attention is given to Him, loneliness is relieved, and repair of the damage and pressure of the world takes place. When God has one's full attention, His thoughts are more clearly heard. During this time of complete surrender to God, one should be open to doing anything in line with the Word of God that He impresses on the heart. While abiding in this peaceful presence, the Lord protects from deception, calls forth into deeper communion, and clearly speaks from His Word. The closed door to the world and the open door to God provide God the stillness needed to speak to man's deepest need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. What was that like to have your book put into print after teaching from it and working with the words of the book for so long?
It certainly made it more convenient, Lisa. I could, instead of opening up a large notebook and trying to read through typing and all, it was page numbered and easily accessible. And so it made it more convenient to do that. And of course, I guess the solidifying it into an organized form that's ready to be published, it kind of helps put your arm, so to speak, hug it a little closer to you, so you can kind of make it more yours, I guess.
I have to just let everybody know, I participated in a Bible study led by this man with that book, and it deepened my walk with Christ significantly. And it also just revitalized my prayer life. If any of you go to a church, we would love to provide you with discount on that book so that you can do a Bible study wherever it is that you study and worship. Dennis would love to talk with you about the book. We have one more author to go, but thank you so much for coming tonight to share that wonderful book. I'll tell you what, it's awesome when you're forced to read a book over and over again, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I am an unwilling participant in God's desire to form me more in Christ's image. And when you have to read these books, you see yourself changing when you read God's word over and over again. And Dennis quotes scripture. It's just packed in that book, and it's all put together in a way that makes sense to your mind. Really a great book. Well, our last and next author I've known and been friends with even longer than Melanie. She flew here from the state of Texas. And please join with me in giving a warm welcome to Carly Samier, reading her children's book, Wheels Off.
Wheels Off by Carly Samier, illustrated by John Bonjour. Hey, baby, baby with the baby wheels. Henry was not facing their direction, but he knew those voices well. 3 bullies were fast approaching on their bikes and heckling Henry as they barreled down upon them. Oh no! Henry jumped off the swing and ran for his bike. Hazel, let's go! Why? Hazel asked as she trudged behind. Because! That's why. Henry turned his bike towards home and started to pedal as fast as he could, but one of his training wheels got stuck in a rut by the sidewalk, and he fell, head over heels. Henry was not going to cry in front of his big sister, and definitely not in front of those bullies. Hazel helped him up, and Henry bolted again for home. Henry, what is wrong with you? Hurry, Hazel, he yelled over his shoulder. The boys were taunting him from behind. Baby, baby, baby wheels. I hate you guys, Henry screamed as he zoomed around the corner of their street. Hazel slammed on her brakes and leaned over the handlebars, spinning the front wheel sideways as the rear wheel flipped around in the air. She stopped dead in the road, cutting the bullies off from Henry. Whoa, they shouted in amazement at Hazel's daring display. Then they turned and rode away, and Hazel, once again, headed for home. Henry, wait, she yelled as she tried to catch up with him. Your wheels are loose. Henry had already disappeared into the dust, and he did not stop until he was tucked away safely in the garage. Hazel was relieved that the troublemakers left, but she was mostly concerned for Henry. She pedaled as fast as she could back to their house on Longfellow Lane. She was out of breath as she pulled her bike into the garage beside her brothers. Okay, Henry, why were they yelling at you? Tears streamed down his cheeks as he shamefully tried to hide his face from Hazel. They was all he could sputter. Henry, look at me. He He finally looked at his sister, ashamed and scared. Were those boys making fun of you because you have training wheels on your bike? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess, he muttered. You guess? Those 3 boys are bullies, Henry. Yep, you're right. That's what they are. There used to be only 2. Wait, this isn't the first time, is it? She demanded. It was the first time someone was with me. That's it, Henry. Those wheels are coming off right now. Hazel, no! I can't ride without those little wheels. Yes, you can. They are coming off. You can help me, or you can sit there and cry. She pulled the wrench out of her father's toolbox and walked toward Henry's bike. Stop, Henry begged. I took those wheels off once before without telling anyone, and I tried to ride on my own. I couldn't stay on, Hazel. I scraped my knees. See? Sure enough, his knees were covered in scabby wounds. Henry James Hawthorne, don't you dare keep secrets from me. Hazel put her arm around her brother's shoulder. Let's get these wheels off, and then you are going to learn to ride a 2-wheeler. She knelt beside Henry's bike and began working on the first wheel. But I thought you had Girl Scouts today. I'm not going. But you love Girl Scouts. You should go. Girl Scouts is fun, but we are family. Today is Wheels Off Day. She finished twisting her wrist, and the first little wheel fell to the ground. These wheels are barely on here anyway, Henry. Totally not safe, she exclaimed as she set the wobbly wheel aside. Well, I couldn't get those round thingies tight with my little fingers. Henry dried his face on the hem of his t-shirt. Henry, hold the bike steady while I get this last one. I can do that. Henry firmly took hold of the seat. There, she said triumphantly. Behold, your very own 2-wheel bike. Okay, thanks, but I can't stay on it. Yes, you can. I'll show you how. For real? I am the expert bike rider in our house. Hazel put the training wheels on the shelf, then turned back to her brother to begin the lesson. Henry, sit on your bike with your feet on the ground. He followed her directions. Good. Now lean from side to side. Henry did. Sit up straight and tall. He did, but not without rolling his eyes at his sister's bossy encouragement. Now, lift your feet. Henry was convinced his sister was crazy, but he lifted his feet anyway, and he stayed on. Wow! Look! You've got your balance, Henry. Just sit up straight, and you'll do great. Not when the wheels move. I can't stay on when the wheels move, Henry said to his sister matter-of-factly. When I got my first 2-wheel bike, I was afraid of falling, too. With squinty eyes, Henry scowled at Hazel. Who said I was afraid? I'm almost 6. Henry, scrapes come with adventures, but you can learn to prepare for a fall. But I don't want to fall. Henry, nobody wants to fall, so let's start with the push and glide. What's the push and glide? He asked, frustrated. Lift your feet, hold on, and you'll see. She pushed Henry to the sidewalk, and his feet skimmed along the ground. See, that's the push and glide. You just pushed me to the sidewalk, he muttered. No, you used your feet to balance while I pushed you to the sidewalk, Hazel said. Oh, brother, he sighed. Do you want my help or not? Yeah, I guess. Okay, then put your feet on the ground. Find your balance. Now lift your feet. Hazel was holding the bike seat as Henry lifted his feet. What happens when I do this? She quickly tilted his bike to the right, but hadn't realized how heavy Henry had become over the last couple of years. She had to use both hands to balance him, and Henry's right foot came down hard on the ground. Hey, I didn't fall. What did your foot do? It stopped me from falling. That's it. That's too simple to work. Your feet are like your training wheels, Henry. You won't fall again if you practice. Henry pushed and glided, then looked back at Hazel with a gymongous smile. Then he fell. Oops. Hazel, I need those little wheels. You okay? Do I look okay? He answered. Yep, you look fine. Try it again. She smiled patiently. Henry whispered to himself, I do not need my little wheels. I do not need my little wheels. Then he pushed and glided down the entire street and back. You've got it, Henry. Now it's time to add the pedals. Henry sat up straight, pushed off from the ground, then placed his feet on the pedals, moving them around and around, and lo and behold, he was doing it. He was riding on 2 wheels. He rode all the way to the corner of Hemming Way and back, putting his foot down only once. Hazel jumped out of the way as he pedaled past her. Yay, go, Henry, she yelled. He rode back steadier than before. That was fun, he exclaimed. Hazel laughed. I always say it's like heaven on earth. Oh, everything's like heaven on earth to you. Let's ride, Henry said as he pedaled away with unfamiliar confidence. His ability did not quite match his excitement. Let me grab my bike too, Hazel headed to the garage. Where are we going? She yelled as she caught up with her brother. The swings, he called as he stood on his pedals. But when he rode into the park, his front wheel got caught in the same rut on the same place in the sidewalk. Yeah, down he went. He rolled on the ground and he came up laughing. My foot was late, but I'm okay. Hazel shook her head with a smile and pointed, grass stains. You know what Mom says about grass stains. Oh, shoot. He tried to rub them off. Hazel noticed a boy walking towards them. He looked familiar to her. Henry, look, isn't that one of those bully boys? Yes, I think you're right. Hazel, what'll I do? Do I have to talk to him? Well, let's see what he has to say, she whispered. Before they knew it, he was standing right beside them. Hey, I'm Billy. That was a nice fall and roll. Thanks, Henry said hesitantly. What do you want? Hazel stood up, ready for a fight, and shouted, You were a bully to my brother. Billy didn't know what to say. I came over to say that I was sorry for that, he said to his feet, looking down. You were mean. Is that what you're sorry for? Being mean? Hazel added. Henry was relieved. Hazel stood steady and ready. She was willing to fight for him. She gave Henry the courage he didn't even know he had. Henry got up off the ground and tugged at Hazel's shirt, pulling her back. As Henry stepped in front, Hazel put her hand on his shoulder. She always had his back. You were mean to me, Henry said bravely. I know, I'm sorry. I feel awful because, well, I'd like to be friends. Friends? Hazel interrupted with her hands on her hips, but Henry quickly stepped forward. Friends? Really? How old are you? I'm 6. 7.5. Yeah, I'm sorry for being mean. I'm new in town and I'm trying to make friends. I don't really like those guys, but they live next door to me. Maybe you and I could ride together sometime, Billy suggested. Ride together? You and me? Henry asked with hopeful enthusiasm. Then he added cautiously, yeah, maybe. My name's Henry. That's my sister Hazel, he added, motioning behind him. You got some good scrapes, Billy saw Henry's knees, but pointed to the grass stains on his shirt and shorts. I bet your mom's gonna be mad. Hey, at least it's not blood. They laughed together with a knowing nod. I got some good scrapes last week, Billy said, lifting his pant leg, showed scraped knees and bruised shins. You fell off your bike? Henry was surprised that a 7-year-old would fall and like it. Yeah, oh, you should have seen it. I hit the curb in front of Mr. Roman's house and landed smack in the middle of his cactus. Wow, I bet that hurt. It hurt the cactus more than me, Billy added, trying to sound tough. Yeah, right, Hazel said under her breath. You want to ride tomorrow, Billy asked. Yeah, tomorrow after lunch, Henry decided, looking for Hazel's approval. It's okay, right? Hazel gave Henry her big sister sideways stare and smiled. Yeah, tomorrow should be fine. The boys waved goodbye and headed off in opposite directions. Henry, I am so proud of you, his sister whispered. You're proud of me? You're the one who gave me the courage to talk to that bully, well, Billy, the ex-bully. But you can ride on 2 wheels. You made a new friend. But the real blessing is much bigger than that. It is? Henry asked. Yes. Don't you see? You had the courage to stand up to Billy with kindness, not by being mean, like they were to you. Yeah, I guess you're right. Henry realized that the day had been a true blessing as they got on their bikes and started off towards home. The sun was shining and the breeze tousled their hair. Henry yelled, "You're right about something else too, Hazel." Of course I am. I am always right, she paused, then asked. About what? This. He stood up on his pedals and leaned into the world ahead. This is heaven on earth. Hazel couldn't believe her ears. Henry was using the phrase that meant so much to her, but not only was he using the phrase, he knew what it was all about. Her little brother, Henry, suddenly wasn't so little anymore. Tears formed in the corner of her eyes, but the wind against her face pulled them behind her. The world had changed right before their very eyes. Her bully-proof brother pulled out in front of her, happily taking the lead. Race you to the garage. Henry James Hawthorne, no fair. You had a head start. And they raced for home together. Peter 1, verse 3 through 9 says, "Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that many may inherit a blessing." The end.
That's a great story, too. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for helping me write it.
We also got Carly from Texas. Take back a little bit of Tennessee with her to Texas. So enjoy that. You're welcome. Stay up here with me while I talk us out of this.
We met when we were like 2.
2. We met at 2, yeah. 30 years ago. We're 32 right now, and I'm sticking to that story. I also wanted to thank Stacy tonight for helping us out with the filming of this, and also Stephen Holt's son, James. Thanks, you guys. Thanks again to Stephen Holt for all the work he's done. Thank you. And also, thank you again, my husband, Derek Stillwell. You know, something I wanted to point out really fast, that none of these things happen because of one person or 2 or 3. And the people that are up here are not the only ones that have contributed to these books. Those illustrators, you all know, seeing the beautiful work up there, those illustrators are so appreciated. Also, if you notice, Dennis's book, Without Ceasing, is Pete right here. Are they still here? Pete, sorry to embarrass you, but could you just stand up? Pete Wright and his beautiful wife, Sonia, came over to our house one night, and Stephen Holt is a bit of a photographer, and they shot, he's the model for the cover of Dennis Davidson's book. And that is just one small example of how we help each other, and that none of these things that God is breathing his life into, at least it seems that way, none of these things happen without the community, without us helping each other. And you are the final edition attending tonight. So please come back and join us in December. Also, Stefan is the technical director for my play, Sergeant York. It's based on the life of Alvin York, the hero from World War I. And we're going up there to Pall Mall on July 3rd at 2 o'clock Central Time. Little James has a cameo role in the part, but Greg Helton plays the lead. And we're going to perform the play at the location where I intended it to be written, which is on the front steps of Alvin York's home in Pall Mall. So if you're looking for a great celebratory way to celebrate our Independence Day, and we are free, in case we all forgot. Celebrate that weekend, July 3rd at 2 Central up in Pall Mall. We'll be there, and we'd be happy to enjoy Independence Weekend with you. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Make sure that you have a good conversation with these writers. And thank you, each and every one of you writers, for coming tonight. And we hope to have you back in December. Thank you. Thanks.
We hope you've enjoyed this presentation of Climbing Angel Publishing's Meet the Author. To learn more about Climbing Angel Publishing, please visit lisasolan.com. Thank you for joining us, and may God bless and keep you. To learn more about Climbing Angel Publishing, please visit lisasolan.com. Thank you for joining us.